Good evening. It's 6:34 p.m. Welcome to the Malden Board of Appeal. Today's June 26, 2024. The Malden Board of Appeal will hold a public hearing Wednesday, June 26, 2024 at 6:30 p.m. at Malden City Hall, 215 Pleasant Street, Room 106, the Herbert L. Jackson Council Chambers, Malden, Mass. On the following named petitions. This meeting may be recorded by Urban Media Arts, formerly known as Malden Access Television. Before we get started, we'll take a roll call vote.
Kramer?
Here.
Sherwin?
Here.
King?
Here.
Bilkin? Here. Thank you. Absent? Not present at the moment?
We have 3 absent at this point. One of our regular members and 2 of our alternate members. So at this point in time, any of the petitioners, we have a couple different options. We did not get word that, we got word that our regular member would not be here, but we did not know that our 2 alternate members wouldn't be here. So we can give it a couple minutes. We can table it until next month, or we can go based on 4 votes instead of 5.
Which means,
What's that?
which means they have to be.
So you would run the risk of a 3-to-1 instead of a 4-to-1.
They need a 4-to-1.
And you need at least 4 for it to pass. And I'm sorry about this. As long as I've been doing it, this hasn't happened.
Is the board going to wait a little while to speak on
We can do that. We can just sit and maybe give it 10 minutes and see if somebody else shows up, or we can go with 4 voters, which could be detrimental to you, or we can table it until next month.
Well, I've discussed this possibility with the petitioner on my matter. We recognize that you have a quorum, therefore we can go forward. And we will go forward.
Oh, can you press
Oh, your microphone. Sorry.
We recognize that the board can't proceed because 4 constitutes a quorum. And I'm representing the board that it is our intention to go forward and knowingly go forward with a short board, so to speak. However, with the board's indulgence, we would like to see if maybe someone might show up if we wait a little bit. If the board's willing to wait, we're willing to wait to see. But whenever, Chairman, you decide you've waited long enough, you can assume that the petition for 19 George Street will go forward.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, you can ask Benny what he would like to do.
So there are 2 petitions. So I think another option that we have is to ask the other petitioner what you would like to do. We have those options. We can table it until next month. We can go ahead with 4. And where that might not be a problem, but the difference is you need at least 4, you need a 4-0 vote in order for it to be granted. So there's no tiebreaker in this case.
Yeah, I would like to go for today.
Okay.
Because this is my second time. I think last time that the board gave me the suggestion and already corrected on the paper.
Mm-hmm. So should we say give it 10 minutes and see if we have another member? And at that point, if we don't have anybody, we will table these until next month? Or would you want to go with the 4 voting members?
Have him come up to the phone, too.
Oh, I'm sorry. Can you come up to the microphone so they can hear you on TV?
Yeah, I believe I followed the instruction from the last meeting and make the document updated. So I would like to go forward today. So.
Okay. Would you like to go right now with 4 voting members?
Yeah, I'm fine. Yeah.
Okay. Just so you know, if there's you need all 4 people to say yes. Okay,
Yeah,
I'm just
yeah.
making sure you're familiar with that.
Yeah, I'm fine. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So we will first listen to,
Wait, do we have to do the minutes?
oh, I'm sorry. So before we hear the first petitioner, has everybody had a chance to review the minutes from the last meeting?
Yes.
Would somebody like to make a motion to approve those minutes?
I so move.
Second.
Motion by Sherwin, second by King to approve the minutes of April 2024. Bilgan?
Yes.
King?
Yes.
Sherwin?
Yes.
Kramer?
Yes.
All in favor, minutes have been approved. Thank you.
Thank you, Board.
Okay, so the first one we are hearing is
48 William.
petition 24-005 by Ben Nie, seeking a variance under Code of the City of Malden as amended, Title 12, MCC 12.16.010, Table of Intensity Regulations, specifically violation of rear yard setback and coverage, principal building as per plans RES 062441-2023, at the property known as and numbered 48 Wyoming Ave, Malden, Mass., and also known by City Assessor's Parcel ID 010-073-315. How are you today? And if somebody walks in the middle of this, we will just have all 5 voting members. So this was tabled from the last meeting, and it was just suggested that you pull back those plans 3 feet, I think it was 3 feet from the property line, whereas before they were right on the property line.
Yeah, I agree.
And I'll just say in the beginning, it looks like you did that with the living area, but the stairs are still right on the property line.
Yes, because the turn of the stair have to be a certain length. Otherwise, if it's too narrow, it's no meaning to it. Instead of like a 6-step, it becomes 3-step, or 2-step, it becomes just not much turning.
Okay. Okay, so from that landing to the back door, how many steps is that? Is it correct on the plans where it says 1, 2? Or is that
the
just?
correct one, yes. 5 or something.
Can you remind me again, what's the addition going to be used for?
The addition would be the bedroom, because my second unit have removed 2 bedroom for the remodel. And then the bedroom would become the living area on the 2nd floor. So I think I would like to using that additional for the bedroom.
So you're adding a bedroom to the house?
Yes, at the bedroom, not for the whole house, no. It's because I removed the wall from the 2nd floor bedroom, 2 bedroom, remove it, so that it become an open space, open area.
So it's 3 bedroom right now upstairs, and it's 1 bedroom downstairs, and
Yeah.
you're just shifting
Shifting,
the
yes.
allocation of where bedrooms are.
Yeah.
And can you remind us, currently there is no second stair from the top unit?
The egress is not get to, the egress area right now on the back of the house would be using for the bathroom, because the bathroom right now on the 2nd floor is not up to the code based on the size. So I want to make the standardize the bathroom, so that why we need that space, and then move the stair outside. So
I saw, if I read it right,
Can you just speak into the microphone, John? Thanks.
you're moving a mechanical room What's gonna be that? What's gonna be in there?
Yeah, the second floor, right now, the proposal mechanic room is the bathroom right now.
Yeah,
And then the room is not the standard, up to the, right now, the
Yeah.
code, right?
well, what's gonna be in the mechanical room? I think it shows a electric panel.
Yeah, they will, I talked to can be using the furnace for the second floor. That's a called mechanical room.
So it'll be furnace, the electric
Panel.
panel,
Yes,
hot water.
yeah.
Is this addition gonna be any taller than the existing garage?
No, it will just the first level, yeah.
And there was no way to get those stairs off the property line?
I'm sorry,
There was no way to get those stairs off of the property line?
you mean
The back stairs
back-
that are still on the property line, they can't, they can't just go straight?
yeah, if we can push back, that means is go to the north side further.
Go towards.
Past the house, past the corner of the house?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, yeah. There's not, from the front of the house, it may not look good, basically, yeah.
I mean, you could put, you see, the thing, if you went to Oak Grove, towards Oak Grove Terrace and even turned it, if you needed to,
Go along the house further and then have them come out?
yeah.
Would that be a longer run? Because I think that is, the issue here is the setback, and the
Well,
stairs are still,
If you do the platform, I mean, I don't know if they, yeah, he's got a little platform at the top. But if you do the platform coming out and then just,
what's on the back of the house right now between the stairs on the plan and the driveway? Is there a door or a window?
Between the back of the house and then there's a little open space and then with the tree stump. And then the tree stump, the right next will be the garage.
And there's a window, but there's no, the first floor egress isn't there, right?
it's in line with,
First floor in the back of the house, egress.
I mean, you would even, Nathan, if you moved, if you put the landing up here and the stairs down and then turn them towards the front of the house. You'd actually raise all this up a little bit, I think, because you can't see it, but the stairs, you know, that they come down here. You don't see it there, but you just bring this down, because there seems to be a lot of land. I mean, that was the big issue, I think, the last time, was the stairs. And we still got that same issue, those stairs.
I think he's gonna be in the setback, really, any way we look at it, I think.
But he won't be at a zero. I mean, you know, I mean, he's gonna be on the side setback, he's probably gonna be, he's still gonna be able to make that turn and be, still have setback there too, on the side yard.
This is, the variance is only for the rear yard setback, right?
Yes.
Wouldn't he need it for a side yard setback too?
What dimension?
No, I think that's the driveway side.
Right there.
The driveway's in the back of the house.
Are you working with an architect to redesign this? And did you ask them to look at different configurations of the stair?
I did ask, I mean, I think either way, like either on the, go further on the north side or stay with right now. Because the back of the borderline is there's concrete wall on the back of the house, so I don't see there's interfere somebody. So. Like basically the back of my house is there's like a concrete wall on the back, the borderline. So.
Yeah, it's just, right now, it's not very convincing. I think it looks like maybe it's possible to pull it off the property line. Your stairs at the top are wider than maybe they need to be, and then they get smaller, and so it seems like there's a little play that
it's
you could
possible, yeah, but
add a couple more treads maybe, and you only have a couple sticking out.
yes, that's possible. Yes, yeah,
Yeah.
that would be on the construction. Yeah, we try to set back, as you say. Yeah.
Does anybody else have any questions?
I mean, it's just real, I mean, it's the lot, I mean, it's too tight, I mean, basically. I mean, I have a real problem with, start approving zero lot line conditions.
So in working with your architect, there was no other way to configure these stairs that would keep them at least 3 feet off the lot line like we asked last month?
Well, I think we can try to, as I said, like push back from the property line and extend it to the north, or make another turn back. I mean,
The basement? It says 4'6". It's the old wraparound porch.
This,
Yeah.
are they using part of that for, is it stairway?
From upstairs. Typically you want them to be a certain distance apart, but so I don't know.
Can you guys just both speak into I don't think we're supposed to have discussions without him hearing. Can you just both speak into the microphone when you're talking?
I was just asking a question on the thing. I didn't, she told me that they like to have stairways certain distance apart because there's, on the first floor, there's a big pantry that's like 4 feet wide, which in essence, a pantry is very nice to have, but, I don't know from a safety standpoint, and we don't have our fire chief here, so I don't know if they could even, actually, they could probably put the door on out the side of the house. Would that help?
You're talking about
Is your contractor here, or is your architect here?
no.
Out that way.
Oh. Yeah, the pitched roof is really hard to tell whether they can actually get the stairs.
Enough space.
Yeah. Yeah, that might not, that'd be maybe one story right now.
We don't know. Oh, I'm sorry. Again, we were just discussing about the pantry, but it looks like it might have a sloped roof, so we don't know how much.
One-story pantry. Yeah, I think it is a one-story pantry, because it's a wraparound porch with a low roof just above the old porch.
So we really don't like it on the property line. So they're they're discussing amongst themselves,
Yeah.
what possible other opportunities are there to make this
It's,
work?
Yeah, I can say is that you said that the pantry, if we not build a pantry, so can the stair from the second floor go down there? You think it's better or?
I'm not saying, I don't know if it's possible, I mean, because,
It
you know,
is possible.
Oh,
You
it is?
just not using the pantry at all.
I know pantries are great.
Yeah, I know,
And
yeah.
if I got rid of a pantry, my wife would kill me, but,
Yeah,
See?
I just think that, I don't know if he's allowed to change the front of the house, and if the egresses are connected, then it might not count as a second means of egress. So I'm
well,
not,
if we brought it out to the side of the house, then
yeah,
they
so
wouldn't be.
like, you're asking him to build up here, above that.
Somewhere up on the second floor, and then turning it out. What's the front of the house?
Yeah.
This is the front.
Speaking of the microphone, guys,
This is the front of the house.
Oh, okay, and this is.
into the microphone, please.
Proposed side elevation. So this is the opposite side, it's this one. Let's see. This is what you're asking him to build on top of here, and then
bringing
connect down there.
And bringing the door out over here.
Yeah, I mean, we can, I can't assume it's gonna meet code, because it's basically exiting from
Yeah, we can't
Like-
tell,
5 feet
can't tell
apart.
from that,
Yeah,
can't tell. I mean, someone would have to have the measurements for the inside of the house and how far away the doorway would end up. I mean, you could bring the door with just small steps on the side.
So with this, would somebody like to make a motion? I mean, it would have been nice to have the architect here, because he would know better what can be done and what can't be done. And in light of having only a quorum, would somebody like to make a sympathetic motion?
No, I don't make sympathetic motions, but I hate to hold you off, but I mean, I would probably just say that, I'd not be inclined to, approve it the way it sits here now. I mean, if you, again, were able to talk to the architect and have him do something. and-
Microphone.
I moved it so I could speak over there. And again, I don't know building code, we know zoning code, so I mean, building codes, where that door fell for the second floor, your architect would probably know that. If he could design a stairway, an interior stairway, the city likes interior stairways better, but I mean, and it's far enough away from the other egress, it might be done, but I mean, the way the plan is now, I mean, we really haven't gotten really any improvement on last month in a way. That stairway's still right there. So, I mean, if you again would have a letter stating that you would like to take it, out another month, and if your guy can do it, figure out a way to do it. But otherwise, I mean, I'll tell you now that I would be inclined to make a motion not to approve this. And once we do that, it's 2 years, unless you come up with something.
Well, I can think of it, as I said, the stair, right, can make another turn basically, or just stick out a little bit on the north, so.
But it's gonna, it would have to be, you know, we can't create more violations.
Yeah, that means the turn, make another turn.
Well, we need to see it on paper, I guess is what we're
Yeah, yeah.
asking to see a stair that's 3 feet off the property line.
Okay,
We can't guess that you can do it and approve.
I would be fine continuing it. I don't think it's gonna change my mind. I think it's too much of a stretch to go from a garage to an addition to the home in the setback area. You know, I think there's a little bit of leeway in terms of, you know, if he wanted to make a small addition to the garage, you know, put a small expansion, I think it'd be one thing. But I think an addition, I just don't think it fits in the area. You know, I think he's really just asking for a bigger home and, you know, trying to use the existing set foot with the garage, which I don't think is a permissible. I think it's a little bit too much of a stretch. But I'm fine if they want, if everyone else wants to continue it, I'm happy to hear what he says, but I don't think it's gonna change my mind, unfortunately.
So you have, and I'm being sympathetic tonight because we have a short board, and I want to make sure you understand what we're saying too. We can make a motion and vote on this right now, or again, we can have your architect look at it again and see if there's anything he can do to make this work within the setbacks.
so basically, right now, the key point is because already the room setback already put in the paper, right? So the key right now is
Those stairs
the
right on the
stair rail.
line,
the
yeah,
stair rail have to align with
yeah.
the
So I believe at the last meeting, we said try to get everything at least 3 feet off the line, but those stairs are still at 0. And I don't know, you know, we're not, actually, one of us is an architect, but we can't make suggestions on how to do that. We need your architect to come up with the plans and
yeah,
present it to us.
yeah.
So, I can't make a motion as the chair. But
You'd have to request.
if we deny it tonight, you'd have to wait 2 years.
So give me another opportunity, I can talk, and then, yeah, so see what's the stair, maybe make another turn or something like that.
I think in light of not having a full board, that's fair, but I can't make a motion.
Is he requesting,
A table.
he's requesting the table? Okay, I make a motion that we allow the petitioner to table his request for 1 month and come back with a plan and see if he's able to make it more acceptable. But you,
I'll second that.
A motion by King, second by Bilgan, to table this petition for 1 month, to return with a plan that is more acceptable, within the 3 feet, at least 3 feet setback?
Yep.
Minimum 3 feet setback.
Understand.
Plans to be submitted to the board. How much more?
We usually go 2 weeks before, right? So that would be, so it really gives you 2 weeks, because the new plans would have to be submitted
Okay,
2 weeks prior to the meeting.
yeah, sure.
Let me give them the date.
So that would be, oh, this calendar's
Have it there?
July 1st?
July 1st?
No,
That
I'm wrong.
July 1st, because this week.
This calendar's not right.
Let me get
Don't
mine.
listen to me.
Okay.
July 10th.
July 10th.
July 10th. Plans to be submitted by July 10th.
Wait, no, isn't our meeting the 3rd week of the month? So that would be July 17th.
But they have to submit it 2 weeks before the meeting.
So it'd be July 3rd, wouldn't it?
July 3rd.
It's next Wednesday.
1, 2, 3. could do it on the 20th.
I mean, is there any rule it has to be 2 weeks before? I don't look at it until a few days anyway, so I don't mind giving him until a couple days before the meeting.
So let's keep it at the
July 10th?
10th.
Yeah,
Okay. Okay.
so 1 week before.
So 1 week before the meeting,
Okay. So when's the next meeting?
July 17th.
17th? Okay.
Yeah, so you would have to have them in by July 10th.
We're gonna vote? Call it? All right, set the motion and plans to be submitted by July 10th. All right. Sherwin?
Yes.
King?
Yes.
Bilgan?
Bilgan?
I
Yeah,
gotta
here.
call it.
She made the motion.
I know, I gotta
Oh.
ask anyway.
Sorry, I didn't hear
Yes.
my name.
All in favor, petition is tabled until July 17th meeting. Plans to be submitted to the Board of Appeal by July 10th.
Okay.
And just try to get it off that line. Thank you.
Now, thanks.
Okay, so the next petition, nobody else has shown up. Okay. So the next petition is petition 24-006 by Barbara Chiuve. I definitely would have not have gotten that right. Seeking to amend a variance of Petition of Florence Joy for a variance of section 800.6.2.22, chapter 12 of the revised ordinances of 1991, as amended of the City of Malden to allow a second kitchen in a single-family dwelling granted for 19 George Street, Malden, Mass., on August 21st, 2014, by striking conditions 1A and 1B. Namely, the second kitchen shall be removed should 1A, either the petitioner and/or petitioner's daughter vacate the premises known and numbered as 19 George Street, Malden, Mass., or 1B, prior to renting, listing, and/or conveying the property known and numbered 19 George Street, Malden, Mass.
Good evening, Chairman, members of the board. Attorney Patrick McDonald with offices at 479 Eastern Avenue here in Malden, representing the petitioner in this matter, Ms. Barbara Chiuve. This petition is a request to amend an existing variance for the property known and numbered as 19 George Street here in Malden. That property is a single-family home on approximately 8,000 square feet of land and located in a Residence A zoning district. About 10 years ago, the then owner of the property, Ms. Barbara Chiuve, who had purchased it from her mother, the late Mrs. Florence Joy, at the time, had petitioned that board. The only remaining and active member who was on the board at that time and is on the board now is Member King. All other members were not on the board at that time. But in any event, the relief that was sought at that time was for permission to install a second kitchen in that single-family residence, not to convert it to a two-family or multi-family residence, but to maintain its single-family status, but allow for a second kitchen within the structure. The reason being is that at that time, Mrs. Joy, who was a widow at the time and was getting along in years, had reached a point where she was unable to live entirely independently. I I'd use the phrase semi-independently, but needing some assistance and needing someone to help her, assist her, care for her some of the time. And Miss Chiuve at the time owned the home, had moved back in to live there, and was going to take care of her mother. And the second kitchen actually was installed on the second floor of the unit, where Mrs. Chiuve was residing. And her mom was residing on the first floor, and of course had what had been the only kitchen in the structure up to that point. And this allowed Mrs. Joy to have the benefit, as an elderly woman in need of some assistance, to have her family member, her daughter, there for that purpose. And it also provided a certain measure of independence for Miss Chiuve, because she had her own kitchen and lived in, while it was the same house, it was still, or as a consequence of adding the second kitchen, it made it a somewhat separate living arrangement from her mom on the first floor. Not an uncommon situation, not a traditional in-law apartment per se, but in the nature of an in-law at the time. The board granted that request, that variance at the time, but did subject it to a couple of conditions. A copy of that decision was appended to the appeal form. I'm sure the board members can see what those conditions were. But this petition seeks to strike one condition, a two-part condition on that decision. And specifically, the conditions are 1A and B, which required that the second kitchen be removed if either of the following events occurred. Either party, Mrs. Joy or Miss Chiuve, vacates the property, or if the property is ever sold. Mrs. Joy has vacated the property. She passed. We're not going to represent anything other than that to the board. And that would technically trigger a need for a removal of that condition. We're here asking the board to strike that condition. No other conditions with respect to it, and I would suggest most importantly, we are not asking that what I think is the most important condition on the granted variance, which is condition 2, which states that the property shall never be converted from a single-family dwelling into a two-family dwelling. And the phrase "shall never be converted" is in bold, black, and underlined. It's pretty unambiguous and very strong and very clear. We're not looking to change that. We are, however, asking the board to consider striking condition 1, A and B. And the reason for that is as follows. Mrs. Chiuve incurred a significant expense 10 years ago in installing that kitchen. And if she were compelled to remove it, it would be a corresponding significant expense to do that. Also, if for no other reason, because things just cost a lot more today than they did 10 years ago, and nothing is going down in price. Also, Mrs. Chiuve is looking to sell the property, in all candor to the board. Her mother is gone now. She wants to sell. She wants to move on. And we have a reasonable expectation that stripping that kitchen out of that unit is not going to be particularly useful with respect to the market value of the property or its marketability. And we respectfully think that this condition now and these subcomponents are frankly onerous and with respect, unnecessary. We recognize that the single most important concern for this board is that no one ever be able to convert through a backdoor process of some kind, either formally or informally, convert this property from what it is, a single family in an RA zoning district, to a two-family. That's not her intent, and she's never wanted to do that, and we don't want to do that now. But this condition requiring the removal of the kitchen, as I said, we think onerous and ultimately unnecessary. A further argument I wish to make to the board is that we think there's a broader argument to be made here, and that is that this property this variance was granted in recognition of the fact that the particular circumstances at the time for this family were such that you had an elderly parent who could really benefit from having a family member living right in the same building, right in the same house, but with the benefit of the two kitchens, affording both of them a measure of independence, while at the same time having that close family member there for support purposes. The need for that kind of property here in the city of Malden, and quite frankly, anywhere at this point in time, has only increased dramatically in the intervening 10 years. Demographically, the developed world is literally upside down at this point in time. Every developed nation in this world is suffering essentially a population collapse. Nobody's having babies anymore. They have their reasons, but what it has generated is a very large, elderly, and continuously aging population, a much smaller and continually contracting younger population to try to meet the needs of all of these people, which is why you've seen an explosion in the last 10 years and probably longer in assisted living facilities, in nursing care facilities, in properties like this, in adult day healthcare facilities. Many, many people in Malden, many, many people in the Commonwealth, many, many people in this country, and frankly, many, many people in this world now are finding themselves in a situation where they need something like this because demographics have changed. We believe that if this condition is stricken, that the overriding concern of the city in that this not become a two-family remains intact, remains protected. You've got an extraordinary, clear, unambiguous condition prohibiting that forever. The words never aren't often used in things, but they were used in this decision, and they mean what they say. We believe that striking this condition, or rather keeping condition 1 in this variance, actually works against the interest not just of the petitioner, but in general against the interest of the community. This is the kind of property that people are looking for right now, that people need right now, and that can't find right now for the most part. Without misleading the board or being misunderstood by the board, should the relief requested be granted tonight, I can assure you that a very big selling point of this property is going to be that this is a structure, a home with 2 kitchens that are legal, that would be very good for people who have an elderly family member that needs a measure of independence, but still needs someone available to be there for them. I can represent to the board, and it's anecdotal evidence to be sure, but the board knows me, the board knows I'm a practitioner before it all the time. I've been approached myself twice in the past 6 months by individuals looking to open adult daycare facilities here in the city of Malden. They are stymied by the inability to find properties that work under current zoning. But I can assure you that there are many Malden residents right now who need adult daycare. It's not available in the city, and they have to go to abutting communities to find it. If any board member is out and about at the right time of day, what I call working hours, commuting hours for work, 7 or 8 o'clock in the morning, 4 or 5 in the afternoon, you're going to see shuttle buses, you're going to see vans picking up and dropping off elderly Malden residents to and from adult daycare facilities because they're located outside the city and there's no other place here for them to go. Now, I know it's not apples and apples, but it's not exactly apples and oranges either. It's just indicative of the growing need that will only grow more as time goes on. So our argument before this board is that we recognize the board's concerns, but we respectfully think that condition 2 is what protects the board here. Condition 1, I don't believe adds anything more to the board, and in fact, it imposes an onerous burden on the current owner of the property. If literally enforced, it causes her to spend a large amount of money. It probably is going to reduce the value of her property. When leaving or taking it out still protects the city from its most important concern, and also provides an actual need now that exists in the city that probably existed 10 years ago, but not to the extent it exists today, and not to the extent it's going to continue to grow as time goes on. So we hope that that's persuasive to the board. I have for the board, we did make outreach to Ward Councilor Winslow. I believe he's emailed a letter of support to the board. He's very much in favor of the petition for those very reasons. I also have, I just received them from the petitioner this evening. I have 2 additional letters of support from very nearby residents. I would ask to be able to submit to the board as well. And of course, I and my client, Barbara Chiuve, is asked, with the indulgence of the board, to perhaps be able to address you briefly herself, if that's permissible. And we're available to answer any questions or concerns any board members may have to the extent of our ability, greatest extent of our ability.
Absolutely, we'll take those letters and we'll submit them. Before I hear anything else, I just wanted to ask Nelson Miller, the building commissioner, one question, if he could come up, as to what constitutes the removal of a kitchen, because having an appraisal background, to me, that just means removing the stove.
Yeah, that's an interesting question. There is no actual definition of a kitchen, but usually a kitchen will contain all the provisions required for food preparation. So once you remove one of those things, then it would no longer be a kitchen.
So just strictly the removal of a stove would, in my mind, be considered removing the kitchen. And then if somebody were to buy it, they could apply for a variance to put a stove back in.
They could.
But in essence, everything else will still be there.
Yeah, we're generally talking about this in the reverse of this situation.
The fridge, the sink, the cabinets,
Yeah, so
the
normally,
dishwasher, if there's one.
we're looking at a set of plans and someone has a kitchen, they get this other space and they say it's not a kitchen, and we say, well, it's got a stove, it's got a refrigerator, it has a dishwasher, it's a kitchen.
But if there's no stove, it's not a kitchen.
If you can't prepare food, it's not a kitchen. Correct.
May depend on the individual, too.
Well, yeah, I mean.
There
yeah,
are cultures that
traditionally-
don't use stoves.
Yeah.
This is why this turns into a gray area, because you don't, some people don't need a stove to, I'm sure I have some friends that wouldn't know how to use a stove if you gave them directions, so, but they could still make a meal.
She looked at me.
Generally speaking, when we do find these things already constructed, the recourse is to make them remove the items, but to remove them all the way back to whatever the source of their power is. So if it's electric, they have to remove the plug and the service all the way back to the panel. If it's gas, they have to remove the gas line all the way back to wherever, because obviously if you just take the stove out, we leave and they put the stove back in.
Okay.
So it would be a little more thorough removal than just getting rid of the appliance.
Okay. So that's the difference between the building department and lending guidelines. While I was listening, just take the stove out.
Yeah.
But, okay, that makes more sense.
Before you step away, I just kind of wanted to bring up a point. I'm assuming that the old board kind of considered life safety regulations for a 2-family, and one of the reasons why they wanted the kitchen removed is that so someone doesn't buy the property and convert it without a permit into a 2-family, which could be detrimental to whoever inhabits that place, whether it's landlord run or owned. So I imagine that the word kitchen implied what was given permission to put in, not just the oven. But it's trying to deter people from making that into a not up to code 2-family in the future.
Yeah, that's the hazard with allowing all the implements of a kitchen other than the stove, is now you're dealing with maybe hot plates or plug-in style cooking devices.
And there's no fire separation between units, there's no sprinklers, so if someone is renting out to a non-family member, there's more risk for a fire. So there's a trickling effect, I think, to say what constitutes a kitchen, what doesn't, when it specifically states the second kitchen shall be removed. So I would definitely say that the entire kitchen should be removed if that's what was in writing.
And so would you qualify the whole kitchen to include the cabinets, or just the appliances and the delivery systems, whether it's electrical or gas, all the way back to the panel or the
I
basement.
would say bring it back to what it was before.
Okay.
So that were 2 outlets in a wall, no cabinets, no sink, no refrigerator, no oven. No, I think that would be safe to say that's what the intent behind this was. But maybe John could speak more to that later.
John, you were here. Do you remember this?
I don't, not that old, but, yeah, I do remember it. I think, at that time, I mean, and to be, not that there was any preferential treatment, but I mean, it was a city family, city, employee family that, was involved. And I was relatively new member at the time, so, but.
Did you speak into the microphone
I-
back then?
No, we didn't even have electricity back then, so, and certainly not television.
Was this on Zoom back then?
But I mean, I think the intent at that point was to make sure that something like that, we knew how it was gonna be used. You start walking this down the line, and that's why that was put in there, was that it would now be out of our hands and the city's hands for the most part. That's the issue that you run into, is that you knew specifically, I mean, now you don't have just, and a lot of families do want to have in-laws, and they want to be able to bring people in there, but a lot of people do B&Bs, and at this point now, this is, even, and I know the city's had some issues with that, and in other cities, it has been much worse and has been a detriment to neighborhoods. And I mean, that's what you got to look at on this situation. How it's going to affect that neighborhood too. I mean, it was a specific reason this was granted, and there's, that reason's changing. I mean, and unfortunately, it's not our job to make the profit margin on the sale of a house higher. I mean, it's to keep, keep the city in line as far as what the city council has instructed us to do by their ordinances.
So I actually think this is a much more straightforward issue. These conditions don't run with the land. They were contingent on the owner. So I think both these conditions are void to begin with. You can't condition a variance based on someone's ownership.
No.
So I think these should have never been put in the first place. I think they're void to begin with. Because the variance has to run with the property. You can't say the variance ends because the person leaves or sells the property.
Well, see, I found, now that I've been around longer, I have seen that and brought that with me, that, then that's null and void
Yeah.
anyway. But, so that I don't think that we can have those in there anyway.
We could, no, this is void, I think. I think that's the easy answer.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm gonna vote in favor of this because I think it was an error to begin with, but this wouldn't be enforceable anyway. At least I don't think so, because you can't make a variance contingent on a person. It has to run with the property. So I think it's a pretty straightforward issue on that basis.
It was an error on our part.
Would somebody like to make a motion?
Mea culpa.
Yeah.
Oh, is there anybody here from the public that would like to speak either in opposition or in favor of this? Ma'am? Just state your name and address.
Betty Knight, 20 Valley Street in Malden. And I know Barbara has devoted her time with her mom, and very, very close. And the fact that they could live in this house together was the biggest gift. And she would like to sell the house. There's a lot of memories here, and these are things that happen in life But I think it would just be a heartbreak to have her take this kitchen out, especially when it was granted 10 years ago. But I'm definitely in favor for keeping the kitchen as she sells her home. Thank you.
Thank you. And I don't see anybody that would like to speak in opposition. Any other questions or discussion points from the board? I read it.
Well, I'm speaking to the microphone.
Yep.
The, ask our attorney member here is, if we were to strike these for whatever reason, whether they were void to begin with,
Yeah.
could we add in something regarding rental so that,
Add in something what?
regarding renting,
Oh, renting the property?
not just specifically saying that leaving the two-family, but
It's not a two-family.
it's not, no, it says specifically that they can't request that it be made one, but that somehow modify that condition, that can be no rent charged for space.
You can't rent one of the units?
There's only one.
There's only,
There is only one, but I mean, you know, like within a situation with an Airbnb and you rent it with a kitchen and a bathroom and a bedroom.
Airbnbs are illegal in Malden anyway.
That's right, we know that.
Yeah.
But there are other uses that they can do.
Nelson, you have some input you'd like to share?
Just to make it a little stricter as
Yeah.
far as making it a rental.
We already have an ordinance that addresses short-term rentals, so you don't need to add anything to it. They can't rent it for less than 30 days. And then, once you hit 30 days, you couldn't restrict that because you'd be in violation of the building code. So,
Thank you.
But then, wouldn't that make it a separate unit? I mean, we're talking about, you can rent a house. But if you're renting the second floor for 30 days or more,
still a short-term rental, isn't it?
well, not after 30 days.
Just sit in the front row.
my bad. Yeah, so there's a number of different layers of regulations that control who can live inside a house and for how long. The overriding rental thing is,
Number of
it can't be less than
unrelated.
30 days. That's when you turn into a transient occupancy versus a non-transient occupancy. And then when you get to who's living inside the house, we have a restriction on the number of people who can live inside a building who aren't related by blood, adoption, or marriage, and that's 4. And then when you get into groups of larger than 4 who are related by blood, adoption, or marriage, then you hit the building code and sanitary code for the minimum square footage per bedroom per person. So all those regulations are already in place, and they would certainly apply to this. The only thing that I think you're considering is making sure that you're perpetuating that it can't be used as a two-family, but that's also already in place because our zoning doesn't allow for a conversion from a 1 to a 2 in Residence A.
I'm just looking for a posted warning at the Registry of Deeds when there's transfers that take place.
Yeah, we wouldn't need a variance to regulate any, or enforce any of that stuff.
Not for you,
Yeah.
you can enforce, but someone buying, they can't say, I never knew.
They could.
We're looking for something that's recorded at the registry that would be part of their closing documents that would say, you're doing the wrong thing here by trying to rent out this second, not a unit.
Yeah, and as much as I typically don't agree with Adam, I do agree with him in this situation that, according to Mass General Law, Chapter 48, Section 3, you can't regulate the inside of a single-family home. So I don't think you could put any restriction on a variance which would do that legally. But Adam would know that.
Well, for this reason, because then when someone sells, you gotta come back and it creates a massive title issue. So I think that's the real reason behind it.
Okay.
Front row. Any other questions, or would anybody like to make a motion on this?
I motion to approve the petition.
Can you just explain again on,
Yeah, I would say, I motion to approve it. I think the conditions are void, they weren't permissible to begin with. And I think since we have the right to amend it, if the board made a mistake in the past, it certainly should fix a mistake now if it's in its power to do so. And I think we do have the power to do so. So I would vote to remove the conditions in 1A and 1B from the original decision.
and that would keep the other conditions that
Keep the
were.
other ones, yeah.
Well, 10 years ago, I seconded
Microphone.
the original motion.
Just strap your chair to the table.
Shouldn't give me one with wheels, that's the problem. I'd second that again, or further.
10 years, they're gonna come back from one of our decisions and say we did something wrong, so it's never gonna end.
Motion by Sherwin, seconded by King to approve this petition with the removal of conditions 1A and 1B from the property. The other conditions are to remain. Call of Bilgan?
Yes.
Yes. King?
Yes,
Sherwin?
Yes.
Kramer?
Yes.
Thank you. Petition is approved. Granted. Thank you. All in favor?
Have an enjoyable, warm summer evening.
Would you guys like to partake in our next moment? Today is Kathy Bartlett's last Board of Appeals meeting. She's retiring. And
She gets two parties, she gets the in-city hall party.
she probably got more than, she probably has 3 more after this,
Yeah.
but Erin Simpson from the Assessor's Office is going to be taking her place.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
yeah, we don't have the budget of the mayor's office, so.
So we got you a card and some flowers.
Is that the message you want me to see over there?
Yes.
Oh, there is a mess.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, they're beautiful. Thank you.
Would someone like to make a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Make sure that goes in the minutes.
All right. Motion by King to adjourn, second by,
Me, second.
Me.
all in favor?
Aye.
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 Adjourned at 7:37.